I have already made 2 videos in regards to this, but as Digimon grows, I honestly think items could be a thing in the game. Not only could items be a huge improvement to the game, but it could be what makes option cards great once again. Because of how often Bandai often uses card arts from Hyper Colosseum, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what ultimately led them to introduce items into the Digimon card game. But would they be items? For the narrative of today's video, I am once again bringing up why items have been heavily hinted at in being the next type of card in the Digimon card game, along with speculations of some early items that could appear in the card game. And while you might think, but DIGI-PANDA, Bandai won't introduce items. Most items so far, whether it be x-antibody or actual items in the shows like blue card or red card, have been introduced as option cards. As always, if you enjoy these types of videos, do consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell for more future content. Hyper Colosseum, or Digimon Digi-Battle as it was known in the English release, had several types of cards in the game: Digimon, option cards, and item cards. Notably, tamers in the game were pretty much option cards as well, and they had a one-time use. But you'll also notice that arts for this card game have slowly crept into the modern-day Digimon card game. Even cards like Digivice, who just received a modern print, have art that's basically translated over from the older game. Unfortunately, due to my scheduling, I haven't been able to get this video out before Bandai dropped a spoiler on the starter deck in the form of Believe in Our Friendship. Because ultimately, I was going to predict that Bandai would drop a card like Digivice as the mainstay way for the adventure trait cards to be searched. Instead, we got an option card that does it for you, and delay gains you 2 memory. Option cards would likely be the route in which items move to, because of the fact that we have cards like x-antibody and x-antibody protoform that tuck under a Digimon as an inheritable source. But one key difference, the items that I'm bringing up in today's video would likely be more interactive with tamers instead of Digimon. My initial thought was that Digivice could be an option card that starter deck 20 and 21 introduce, but like I said, that moment's gone. This option card would be a white option card that has a security effect that reveals the top 3 cards of the deck and generically adds any Digimon to hand or returns one from trash to hand before adding this card to its owner's hand. Its main effect would be much more specific and only add 1 adventure trait card from the top 3 and return the rest to the bottom before placing it under one of your tamers without Digivice in the sources. Most of this card's design looks at searching and placing it under a tamer for one major reason. The inheritable effect of this card converts any tamer into a memory fixer. So if your tamer was already a memory fixer, no changes. But if your tamer wasn't a memory fixer, you suddenly got quite the improvement to tamers at the expense of 2 memory. Not to mention, because the card is white, you would need a Digimon or tamer to play it. Note that there's an additional caveat to the inheritable, that if this card is a tamer, it gets that effect. Because, you know, hybrids. Thank you Curiosity for pointing this one out when reviewing over them. If you haven't checked out Curiosity's Digimon content, she's a fellow content creator who also doubles as the voice actor for Violet in Boots in my Liberator reads. But that aside, Digimon Adventure, besides the Digivices, has at least 2 other items that I would think Bandai would bring into the card game: Crest Tag and the Crests themselves. The first thing that I had to consider was, what would Crest Tag do? The Crest Tags and the crest for each Digidestined ultimately had one major plot device in Digimon Adventure, and that was helping the kids digivolve their Digimon from level 4 to level 5. Likewise, these cards would assist with that as well. Crest Tag would be a generic component that would cost 0 memory. My reasoning for this is that it doesn't set memory, and it doesn't search. Rather, this card is one of the few that takes elements from older cards and combines them with others to create new combinations and flexibility for players. And because of this, if this card is hit in security, if you have a Digimon in play, generically speaking, you gain 2 memory. While this is a reminder of Hammer Spark, it's also a reminder to players that you also need to have a Digimon in play. And sometimes, players don't want to do this because it may give advantage, or it's simply removed beforehand. The second instance is that the 0 memory cost is to tuck it under one of your tamers without the Crest Tag in the sources, because ultimately the inheritable converts your tamer to have the next inheritable of your turn. Once per turn, when one of your Digimon would digivolve into a level 5 or higher Digimon, reduce the Digivolution cost by 2. This card also does not replace when you tuck, meaning it's an inherent -1 to your hand and provides only a Digivolution reduction. With floodgates that already exist to counter this, this is one aspect that I'm not seeing as a problem. So with the tamer, having the Digivice, and the Crest Tag, means that when you promote up a level 4, you're probably going up into a level 5 and a level 6, passing your opponent to 1 memory without having to expend too much memory on resources. And while this last card for discussion today is just one Crest concept, yes, I'm always probably going to use Tai and Greymon for these types of examples because the purpose of these videos is to stir the pot a little bit as an idea or concept that I've been thinking about. Crest of Courage is one of the last items to discuss in today's video, and because Greymon predominantly plays in red, I'm just going to make it a monocolor option card instead of red-black. Though if you have a Digimon with Agumon or Greymon in its name in play, you may use it without meeting the color requirements, which means you can, of course, splash it into black. In security, this option card deletes one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP before adding itself to its owner's hand. Frankly, in today's age of Digimon, removal is always reserved for maybe 2 slots unless you're playing a deck like Security Control. Because of this, a majority of players tend to lean more option heavy on consistency with their memory boosts, trainings, and scrambles. Which is why with the Digivice and Crest tag, you could see some replacements to a certain degree to these cards. Although Crest of Courage and Crest tag have pretty decent security effects, I wanted to make the mainline effects for each individual crest a little bit more streamlined to its archetype. In the case of Greymon, for example, the Crest of Courage removes all threats and obstacles on your turn. Its main effect makes one of your Digimon completely immune to your opponent's effects for your turn. Then you place this card under one of your tamers with Taikamiya in its name without the Crest of Courage in the sources. The inheritable makes it so that when one of your Digimon digivolves on your turn, if you're digivolving into a level 5 or higher Digimon with Greymon in its name, once per turn, you gain 2 memory. So hypothetically, if you have say that BT12 Taikamiya with the Digivice, Crest tag, and an Agumon in the raise, you could promote up, set your memory to 3, digivolve in a BT17 Greymon for free to nuke a Digimon of 12,000 DP or less. When you would digivolve in a Metal Greymon, you would be able to digivolve in a Metal Greymon for a cost of 1 because of Crest tag's ability, and then gain a memory back via Taikamiya's suspending effect. So you're still at 3 memory. By paying 2 memory and playing Crest of Courage means that the Metal Greymon stack is now immune from everything security related and even Blast Digivolution effects. Before you digivolved into say, War Greymon, who would cost 3 memory, but you would refund 2 memory because of Crest of Courage. And that of course, sets you to 0 memory. Now you can attack without fear. But the question is this setup even worth it? Option cards play more of a consistency role in today's card game, and less of an offensive one. And before the anti-Greymon viewers light their torches and raise their pitchforks, again, I'm only using Greymon as an example in this video because it's easily relatable. The Crest of Friendship would likely have something similar to Garurumon cards to gain 2 memory. And of course the other Digidestined as well. Initial opinion wise, I feel that Digivice related cards could ultimately make a huge impact on archetype specific decks, like Adventure. And of course I'm saying we'd be proposing similar cards for Adventure 2, Tamers, and beyond. But one major limitation that I can already see with these types of option cards, in particular, is the splashability. For example, with Digivice and Crest tag, should another explicit limitation be placed on their inheritables, only triggering if the Tamer has Adventure as the trait. Because ultimately with these option items, it definitely supports older Adventure Tamers, but without any specific caveats you could use them with any Tamer. So Davis and Ken could become a memory fixer. Mirai Mikagura could become a memory fixer. The big thing is, you just lose out on that search for the most part with that adventure-specific trait. Generally, I've come up with item cards in the past for Digimon cards, like Gallantmon with Grani, or even Behemoth for Beelzemon. But in thinking about the direction the game is moving, this is where my mind went when I saw the adventure trait Digimon and Tamers. My favorite thing though about this? Joe Keto inadvertently gets his memory fixer. What are your thoughts on these concepts, and do you think Bandai very well could be heading this direction? Let me know, and I'll catch you next time on another upload. This is DIGI-PANDA, logging out.